Alan Hatherly, how does it feel to be the best cross-country rider in the world?
It's unreal. I mean, it's been a proper journey. Smashed myself a lot with the downhill.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, broke the jaw like completely off and broke the right arm. You know, the motivation is so high. If you have just an ounce of energy, you're going to go out and smash yourself some more.
Yeah.
I want this so bad, but it doesn't matter what it takes.
Alan Hatherly is currently the best cross-country mountain biker in the world. Hatherly was born in South Africa, and after dabbling in BMX and downhill, he set his sights on cross-country World Cup racing.
In 2024, it all came together as he won the World Championship, the World Cup overall title, and got an Olympic bronze medal.
Cross-country championship, Alan Hatherly, the world champion for 2024.
But now in a surprise move, he has switched gears to tackle professional road racing in 2025.
Is it fun, the actual racing part?
Yeah, it's like a game of chess. If you're riding along at like 80% and then the race happens and then you go completely cross-eyed when you follow, you're just dying. You can't breathe, you can't descend, you can't feel your arms. It's horrible. Giant launch video. It was 8 hours of filming for me, you know, sprinting up, down, left, right, follow shots, drones, the works, you know. The reel that went out was 45 seconds long.
If you could give people some advice, what has helped you and what you'd recommend if they wanted to get to where you are?
I would say probably
Guys, this is a brand new podcast, and the goal is to interview the most iconic figures in sport and health from around the world. But I need to ask you guys a big favor to please like and subscribe, because it would make a huge difference to the size of this podcast, and ultimately, the bigger the podcast gets, the bigger the guests. Enjoy this episode.
Alan Hatherly, dude, thanks for coming on. I'm excited for this one.
yeah, I think it'll be a good chat. Looking forward to it.
Dude, when last did I see you actually?
Yeah, I think it was probably Leo Game World Cup of 22.
I think this is funny
Could
because
be 21 even.
did at the time, the last couple of years, it's been insane, especially for you. Like, how does it feel to be the best cross-country rider in the world?
Yeah, no, it's unreal. I mean, it's been a proper journey, I would say. I mean, obviously, kind of, I think, knocked on the door with my first under 23 world title in 16. And, no, sorry, it was 2018, actually. And
Yeah, I was wondering.
it
actually.
yeah,
Like,
no,
I thought maybe I got more
yeah.
facts wrong there.
yeah, I mean, that was a little nugget. And then, yeah, kind of built momentum from there. Struggled a bit in the first year in elite. It's quite a big jump. And then, yeah, kind of
Was
figured my...
19 your first year?
Yeah, and then did Cape Epic that year as well, and then like thought I was King Kong, you know, smash everything, and yeah, got to the World Cups in May and got walloped, and learned that, you know, you still need to put in. Just because you under 23 world champ, it means nothing when you go to elite. And yeah, I've been quite a journey making my way through the ranks in that field, and yeah, eventually made it and achieved my dream, and I think every athlete's dream to wear the rainbows in the elite category.
And I mean, maybe you can take us back like to how this whole thing started, because the first time I remember you was in 2010 in Joburg in Fort Klapperkop. Some like little mowed grass track down the hillside there, and you were on a Moorwood, I think, back then, racing downhill.
Yeah. I mean, it started before that. I mean, I was doing BMX, you know, at 6 years old already, kind of racing all the national rounds. I mean,
Yeah.
there's probably like 4 of us on the start line back then, but it counted. And then, yeah, we moved from there to like inter-school racing, and then kind of was actually inspired by Greg a lot, and just was doing a bit of motocross on the side at that point, and figured that downhill would be pretty cool as well. Started with downhill, I think I was 8 or 9 years old, and then was really hooked on it, and did like cross country just on the side, just to like tick the box, just like, you know, it was like a part of school sports, you had to do something. So
Yeah.
like adventure racing was the category it fell into, the cycling that I was doing. So I just did that just to like keep the school happy. I just wanted to do downhill, but they wouldn't, like, you know, that was on weekends, so we'd get uplifts and stuff, and they wouldn't let you get away with that. But yeah, ended up doing cross country on the side. Downhill was the main focus, and then I don't know, like there's just a turning point when I was 16 years old. I mean, I'm not going to quote the years because I'm going to get it wrong. But yeah, I got an offer to like pursue cross country on its own, and like the condition was that downhill would take a back step. And I figured at that point, you know, I might as well go for it. And obviously Barry was a big inspiration as well. Was really wanted to follow in his footsteps at that point, and like I figured, you know, I might as well give this cross country thing a bash. I did all the testing and stuff, and they said like the engine was really good and that I would have a good chance at making it. So I was like, all right, I just run with it. And then I think, yeah, I did a few more downhill events locally after that, but kind of stopped focusing on it. I think what also didn't help was the injuries. Like, I don't know if you remember, but smashed myself a lot with the downhill.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, broke the jaw like completely off and broke the right arm. It was like chaos, and it was like back to back within 1 year. I did both. So it was, yeah, steep learning curve. You know how it is. The game is rough.
Okay. Because that was what I was interested in, is why you made the switch. But I guess that's part of it. I mean, but you also had some injuries in cross country and marathon as well, right? Less.
But
I remember, was it the Epic that you crashed and you broke your wrist?
Yeah, it was Tankwa.
Oh, Tankwa.
Yeah, it was actually 2018. The year I won the world title. Like, we had the home World Cup.
Good prep.
Yeah, home World Cup here in Stellenbosch, and there I was like 3 weeks out, going to smash myself, and no home World Cup for me. I think they kind of put the World Cup on, you know, for me, because I was second at the World Championships the year before, so it was like kind of expected that I was going to be there and perform, and they did a good job. But yeah. And then, obviously from junior years, when started World Cup racing, I got the opportunity to have a go there.
What was your first junior?
It was
year?
Val d'Isle.
What year? Do you know what year was it?
I was 17. I mean, 28 now.
Which year did you stop downhill?
Back.
Which year did you move away from downhill?
2013. 14.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I went for it like for those that know that cross country circuit there in Italy, it's got kind of like a flat start loop. You go out and you like U-turn and you cut back through the woods a bit, and then you hit the first climb. And I remember starting and going straight to the front, and like it was super easy to get to the front, and I was like, oh, these guys are soft, you know. It's going to be easy to win this race. And then we hit the first climb and I got absolutely smoked, because I gave them a proper lead out into the climb. I think I was still maybe, I don't know, top 20 or something, but yeah, I kind of realized like, okay, this is a different league, you know. And there's also 100 odd guys on the start line, and I think previously probably 30 or 40 was a lot. Yeah. At a national round on the start line. So
in South Africa, you mean?
Yeah. So the depth of field is crazy, and it's like really tough to make the transition as a South African guy racing bikes to try become a pro overseas.
And when, I guess...
I mean, you know the game. So
I noticed I had the same deal with downhill. I mean, obviously I never got to win world champs, but just the same, you come from here and you think because you win a national or you win national champs, you're like, oh, sweet, like I'm going to go overseas and just like smoke it. And you get there and you get absolutely destroyed. Yeah. There's just so many guys and girls, but so many more people there that are faster, and the tracks are different, and it's just like, it's almost like for downhill, I don't know, maybe you experience the same, but I find it's almost like a different sport. Like it's just similarities, but from the tracks to the way what you need to do training wise, like everything is just so different, and the professionalism and everything is just like on another level.
Yeah, I think it's just exposure. Like, I think, you know, the biggest thing is the actual trails and the conditions. I mean, we have good trails here, but the length, I mean, I gave up downhill, I think, quite a long time ago. So, you know, I can't speak too much on the downhill, but just from what I see from the outside, when I'm at the actual World Cups, I'd say the tracks are like, you know, really, really steep, technical, and super long. Like, I don't think we really have similar conditions here to train on. And I think it's kind of the same for cross country as well. Like, we have good tracks here, but they're not at the same level as what it is in Europe across the world now at the World Cups. So I think it's, you know, that's one part of the adjustment. I think it's like a really good platform to get your feet and like get yourself in a good shape in South Africa. But for sure, to take it to the next step, like it takes so much time overseas to just get used to those living conditions and race conditions and just what you get exposed to in general, I would say.
I mean, obviously you had an interesting background because you started in BMX, right? was that the first like
Yeah,
racing?
it's really, really, like really small.
So like you have the BMX side, the downhill side, the motocross side, and you've done obviously marathon racing as well. And now then you moved into cross country, and now you're also dabbling in road as well. I mean, like how much impact do you think like all those other things had on, helping you to get where you are? I mean, do you think it really makes a big difference having those as a base, or do you think you can do it without doing the BMX and doing the the other things as well?
That's a tough one. Like I think it's just like who I am really, like I'm always wanting to be challenged and looking for something different. And I'm a believer that if I'm resilient and like able to deliver on like each different type of thing I commit to, like it's just going to make me a better athlete in general. So that's kind of like, the big reason of change is looking for a new path to grow and develop and get back in the deep end. And like I haven't raced the road at the highest level, and I figured after the season I had that it was the perfect opportunity and perfect time to get in the deep end and learn again, Because like the last 2-3 years, like I'm sure you also sit down with yourself and you think, how do I make big improvements? How do I go faster? And we've been fortunate enough to find ways to improve, obviously, and work our way forwards, but no like significant jumps. And I figured, with LA Olympics being my big goal, like in 4 years' time, I need to do something drastic to make big improvements if I want to have a shot at going for gold there.
Yeah.
And I mean, now is the perfect time to get in the deep end with the road and go for it. I'm still doing the mountain bike on the side. I mean, that's the passion and what I know best. And I think for me, the balance of both, I think, is going to be my key to success. I hope.
And so are you going to be doing the full season still for mountain bike, or selected events?
Yeah, it'll be selected events. It'll be for sure a bit reduced, because to manage everything in 1 year is just asking too much. I think it's, I'm really calculated, and like I want to do a good job at the races I do.
Yeah.
So I don't want to try and do everything and then just be average at everything. I want to really target specific events and do my best at those and see where it goes.
Have you done some road races already?
Yeah, I mean, locally I've done a lot.
You've done the August and stuff, right?
Yeah. So I've done all the local stuff for the last few years, and then I did a small stint with the EF Nipo development team. Did all the Croatia races, which was pretty wild. Went at a savage time of year, I would say. It was raining and hailing and proper winds and stuff. And obviously, development team, so a bunch of youngsters, super strong, but I didn't really learn too much because the experience was not super high. Obviously, everyone is trying to find their feet at that level. So yeah, I'm just really excited now, like being at World Tour level with the best in the world, like as teammates. And I think it's the best way for me to get up to speed as fast as possible. And I think from cross country, I'd like to believe that the engine is there and that it's decent. So, I mean, from the testing we've done so far, it's been within the ballpark. So it's just a matter of learning the ropes now and getting good guidance to navigate. But yeah, I've heard some horror stories of feeding through the bunch and making it to the final. So looking forward to it. It's not so long now before we get the first test.
And I mean, what's it been like in terms of, the training and all of that? Like, how is that? What's the biggest difference been for road versus XC?
Yeah, for sure. There's a few extra hours added in. Like obviously the road racing, the endurance becomes a big factor, especially like fatigue resistance. That's the word that they use a lot. It's being able to deliver a really good performance at the end of the stage. So, 4 or 5 hours deep, you have to be able to do the power that you can do in the first hour, basically. I mean, that's like what it is. But yeah, I mean, otherwise than that, it's not too different, I would say. I think the biggest difference at the minute is that, normally with the World Cup season being in May, that becomes the focus and target, that the shape is perfect and where you need to be for May. Whereas now I'm racing end of January and it's a target event. So it's like fast forwarding the shape quite a long way forward and then trying to hold it all the way through to October for end of season. So I think that's going to be a big risk this year. It's just balancing that and resting at the right times and not biting off more than I can chew, I guess.
I mean, obviously, but I would have assumed it must be because obviously road races are quite a bit longer. So, I mean, XC, what's the XC World Cup? Hour and a half, normally? The
less,
main day, or even less?
Yeah.
So I would have assumed that it should be a bit different because you don't need to perform for so many hours.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the intensity is completely different. Yeah, I mean, cross country is absolute max, like from when you're full away. I mean, the average heart rate's like between 175 and 180 for me for like
the whole race.
Yeah, for almost every World Cup I do, and a max of 190, 194. So I mean, you literally are riding like at the rev limit, like all the time. So like
that is mental.
That I think is going to help the road.
I have the same, but it's only for like 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, I mean, if you're not doing that, I mean, you're getting dropped there. I mean, the level is so high, and it's constantly evolving. Like, you go home, do your research, you make a 5% improvement for the next season, and you're exactly where you were. Like, nothing changed. Everyone made 5% improvement. But yeah, I think I would like to believe that being able to sustain that kind of effort for the hour 20 or so, like when the road race unfolds and like everything starts to split, then I'll be able to go with and sustain that attack to make something of it, basically. I think like in and around that, normally it's just like controlled bunch work and using your teammates. I mean, obviously road is a big team sport. So it's, riding along, saving energy, using your team to get you to the climb where you have to go for it. So yeah, it's a whole new world, really. I mean, got a lot to learn. I think we should revisit this conversation in 12 months' time.
Flipping out, that's mind blowing. Like, I mean, obviously, cross country is hard, but like that, to sustain that heart rate. So when you're doing training, are you doing like also doing that, or do you only do like 90 minutes at 180 heart rate on race day, or are you doing that in interval training as well?
No, it's like a lot of repeated intervals for the duration of an hour and a half.
Okay.
Not all the time it'll be that long. Sometimes it could be 40 minutes of interval work, or sometimes it could be 2.5 at obviously a lower intensity, but it's always like repeats of some sort, whether it be circuits, sprint repeats, climb repeats, something along those lines, or even motor pacing. It's like there's a few ways of doing it, but it's never as intense as a race. Like the way, because my coach is Phil Dixon, and his philosophy has always been to use the racing as like the top end, and you do like kind of your 80% and under in training, and then you use the racing to like put the cherry on top.
Okay.
So we always do like a race or two in prep for the important ones to just really dial in and ride at that 180 for the whole race, just to get conditioned for that, and then go to the event we've been targeting.
It's so hectic.
Yeah, I think it's hard because a lot of guys think they need to rinse it all the time, and they need to ride at 180 heart rate, and when they do an endurance ride, they need to be going for it. And I think when they actually need to do it in the race, they can't, because I think like mentally and physically they're just cooked.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like having that different approach of really like investing and going for it like in the race, and being hungry to redline, basically. I think if you just redline all yourself and redline all the time and smoke yourself, it's gonna be quite hard to do it when you actually need to do it.
Yeah, I think I think that's this modern culture as well, of like more, and you see these motivational videos like push through it, but I think it's quite easy also to go too far the wrong way, and that actually does more harm than good. You end up digging yourself a hole, and then wondering why you're not getting stronger, and then you like put more work in because
I think the other thing is also, it's like it's so generic training. Like a lot of guys are on such a generic plan that they are told you need to do this and this, and it's going to work. And I mean, with my training, it's very specific to me. We have something that works for me, and it's not something that would then be, because I'm obviously with Cannondale, Phil's the coach and head performance lead for the team, and obviously he had the oversight on all of us and trained all of us, and we didn't have identical training programs because we each needed different things to get the best out of ourselves, and it was phone calls every day, like as feedback
every day.
Wow, I mean, it's every day to see how the day was, how the session was, like just it could be like, yeah, all good, or it could be, yeah, I felt this and this, you know, or maybe I didn't sleep so good last night, and then like it gets adjusted, you know, then as opposed to like if you have a 1 week plan, you know, and it's not going so good, but you know, it says you need to do 4 hours the next day, and you do it, like, and you're broken when you start it, and then you have intervals the next day, and you do it because it says you have to do
Yeah.
it, but you're broken, like, you know, you're not actually moving forward, you're just breaking yourself down, and then like the rest period says 1 day, but maybe you need 2. It's just like, it's quite tough, you know. I see like a lot of the youngsters nowadays is just running like a 4 week plan, and like the plan is a plan, and
and you do it.
there's no adjusting. And if you miss a day, you just crack on with whatever was planned for the next day. It's like it's just crazy. And I mean, it works. Like some guys, it works for sure. They have success. There's no dramas. But I think for others, it doesn't work. And I mean, there's not many options. So I mean, they have to just figure it out on their own. And I guess there's not so much guidance going around to help those that are wondering.
I think I was guilty of that. I mean, when did you were training with John Wakefield in your earlier days?
Yeah.
When did you leave or change from him?
It was 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, middle, end of 2020.
Because I was training with him as well. And I mean, I'd known him for years. And like, I think obviously he came from, like, had quite a big background in road and obviously in motocross as well. And he would give me training plans, and I would, like, the downhill, like, and the sort of skills specific training, I would always like keep separate to what he gave me. So I was always doing way too much because I would do like whatever he gave me. So if he gave me intervals, I would do the intervals, and then I'd go do time downhill runs. Like, but obviously if you do time downhill runs, you're sprinting as well. So it's like more intervals. And so, like, and then I'd go ride pump track or whatever. And, you know, so I'd be doing all this other stuff, and I was just so cooked. Like, but I mean, it was my fault but at the time, obviously, you know, you're young and you're just like, oh, you know, the more I do, the stronger I'm going to get, you know? So I can see how quickly people can be in that situation. And then you're kind of also puzzling because you're like, well, I'm doing all this work and I feel like I'm not progressing. Or you just feel like you're so fatigued all the time, and you're like, you're just stuck in. And then now, actually, when I got injured in 2018, 19, obviously I had a lot of time off. And then when I came back, I parted ways from John and started doing my own thing and started doing less. And then I realized, like, I was feeling better than I was. I was doing way less load, but I was feeling better than when I was with him. But it wasn't to do with him. It was just that I realized that I was just doing way, way too much.
Too much secret training on the side.
But I guess it's always easier in hindsight when you look back, you know?
Yeah, I think it's, I think I was also guilty of it probably at times. It's like, you know, the motivation is so high that, like, you look at the plan and, like, if you have just an ounce of energy, you're going to go out and smash yourself some more. Like, I want this so bad that it's, you know, it doesn't matter what it takes, even if it's, like, you know, you absolutely broken every day, then, you know, that is what it is. And
this is like, he puts the recovery ride, and you're like, nah, I can get a bit more out of this, or go for a moto session afterwards or whatever. Like,
or you save the file that says, you know, you did 1 hour, and then you go and do another hour afterwards, or, you know, like, I mean, did some stupid things when we were in the younger years and trying to make it unseen.
Flip. I mean, I think e-bikes are quite a cool thing for riding now for that as well, to kind of, because if you do want to do some more and you should be taking it easy, also doing like an e-bike ride on Boost or something like that is a way to still have some fun, but without breaking yourself too much, which back then didn't happen. I was riding on like a jump bike with a high seat post. It's
I mean, to be fair, it takes discipline. I mean, even on the e-bike, you can still rinse yourself and have a hard workout. I mean,
e-bikes get a bad rap, but I think if you want to, you can have a proper ride.
It's more the downhills. Like, I can hit 160, 170 heart rate on the downhills.
Really?
Yeah. Like, if if there's a comma on the line, you know, like, rest days out the window.
I stopped using Strava years ago because it became too much. Like, every ride would be like a race day.
Yeah. No, it's actually something, I mean, we're probably drifting like quite far off topic now talking about Strava, but like it's actually something I use quite a lot.
Oh, really?
Because it's, obviously mountain bike and the efforts we do is really power meter dependent.
Yeah.
And Strava, like it's GPS based, so time doesn't lie. So like if you change tires, if you change suspension,
Interesting. Okay.
you change power meters, like I always go back to Strava and I have key segments like within the trail network that I normally ride and like cross country laps that I test on. And then you can back to back, if you do the same 10-minute lap time, but it says you did 50 watts less, you can then relook it and say either you're efficient, the tire setups this, the power meter is not correct. Like there's a few ways to do it, but yeah. So Strava is quite a useful tool for us.
Wow,
And-
that's interesting.
and now with the road, like it's more reference points. Like a lot of the hard climbs obviously have a KOM point, and like it's realistic of like a road race finish that you would have to go all out to try match that time or beat it. So something I'm doing secretly at the minute is like finding key KOM points like in and around the area that's been long standing, and it's gonna take a few of those off hopefully before I head off for my road race.
Tripping out. Oh, what's it in 3 weeks you going?
Yeah,
Jeez, this is becoming real now.
yeah. No, I mean, need to test the shape, and like if I'm far off, then it's like kind of then realistically where I'm gonna be at the road racing.
It's interesting I didn't think that. I thought everyone thought that Strava's like bit of a. It's just like for your mates, on the weekends.
Yeah. A lot of guys take it seriously. There's some bragging rides. I see
The
some
guys take it seriously.
some big rides go on there as well.
Yes, get the com. I remember back. I had it for about I don't know, about 2 years, and then it became like sometimes you just want to go for a ride and just have a chilled ride and not just always want to.
Yeah.
Competitive side always comes out. How you were mentioning it a bit before, but so what is how has your training evolved from back in say 2017, 18 when you were under 23 to now, like moving on to obviously winning this year and moving into road and everything?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite obviously the coaching systems changed as well.
Yeah.
I changed coaches and really bought into the Cannondale way. And I really give all that credit to Cannondale and the team because, they build the team around the riders, and like each and every staff member is invested in doing their part or filling in the holes to help each athlete on the team perform the best they possibly can. And like they're all year round team. It's not just rock up with the World Cup. Oh yeah, we haven't seen you since last season. Like, how you doing? How's it been? Like the team is really invested. Like we did Jan camp, Feb camp, April camp into the World Cups,
and they came here as well, right?
Yeah, they love it here in Stellenbosch. I think they're coming again in a few weeks.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, like it's really and then when you start building that kind of relationship, I think the trust and confidence really starts to build. And I think like with such a strong group of riders as well, it was also really rare and unique. To have me, Simon, and Charlie on the team, and all three of us can be on the podium on a good day where everything goes to plan. So, when you're doing intervals and testing and stuff, it's like sometimes you have to just have a moment with yourself as well, and just remind yourself that if you get smashed, like and the guys are the best in the world. They're not just like youngsters that you're training with. I mean, they damn good. I think when we all push each other, I mean, the level just goes sky high.
I think it's good. Like it seems to be quite popular now, also with not just with cycling, but also like I follow motocross quite a lot, and they've got this place called the Baker's Factory in the US, and all the top guys train together, and which was kind of back in the day not really a done thing, because you want to keep your training secret or whatever. But obviously, if you've got someone that's on your level or similar level, then you're going to push each other.
Yeah. And I think the other key to the success over the last 4 or 5 years, I would say, is also rest. Like it was something that I really underrated. I know we touched on it a bit earlier, but just really like putting in the work when you need to, and then really pulling the handbrake and like doing nothing for a few days afterwards, just to kind of absorb it and like kind of build a bit of a step ladder effect. I think when you're constantly chasing like the training peaks is dangerous at times, you know, when you're chasing that fitness score in the middle and you're just trying to push that thing up and up and up, and then you take a rest day and you see it go down, but then you try to push some more. It's dangerous, you know. I think that was kind of the approach and mentality I had in the past, and then kind of went into the Cannondale way and then just trusted in the need to really invest more than what I was previously. Like, you know, I really trained like to a much higher state of fatigue, and then I rested like double what I would have previously rested, and like just kind of just built up. And then over the last few years we've progressed like that level of fatigue. Initially, like, it only took 3 days and I was broken, whereas now it's kind of 3-week blocks, you know, before I need to rest. So it's really like I've become resilient and like used to that kind of back-to-back hard training. But yeah, it's been a long process. It's not just a quick thing, and it's been, I would like to believe, quite a sustainable approach to building shape and consistency. It hasn't been a 1 year, let's go for it, make a 50% improvement, and then you toast it afterwards. It's been kind of little nuggets every 6 months or so, and just constantly moving forward. And like this move now to the road is like the next big step to try keep adding these nuggets on, and then sticking to what we know in the background with the mountain bike.
Are you doing the road thing is that like where you see kind of your career going, like full time, or is it more so to make your mountain biking better?
Yeah, it's like I would like to do both and do a good job at both. I think at the minute it's kind of hard to really have a decisive point on where I can see it going. Like, I think I'm going to need a few races to see realistically where I'm at, because like, you know, also don't really want to like end the career, you know, being a road guy that's just one of the other guys in the peloton that, you know, gives a pull here and there and gives some nutrition, you know. Like, I want to make my way forward and like be one of the team leaders and like win some races. You know, I'm really competitive, and like, you know, even if I win a World Cup, you know, like I want to win it by more the next one. Like, I'm super bad with that, you know, like, so if I win by 10 seconds, I'm like, yeah, I know, like super happy. Like in the moment, the next day, I'm like, God, I win by 20 seconds. Like, yeah, like just constantly pushing
You want
forward.
to smoke the guys.
Yeah, like it just, I don't know. Like, I don't settle for where I'm at, you know. I always want to push and be better. And like, if I do intervals and stuff and we have like the targets, you know, it's like, it's always, how do I go further up the hill in the same time? You know, it's like always, what's next, how to do it better, what event can we do next that's bigger than the one we've just done, you know. It's like, so that's why I think the road thing, like at the minute, is completely new, and we're starting from the bottom. And I think like it's kind of a 4-year plan in my head that, you know, maybe 27, like we can target a grand tour. I mean realistically, to go and win is like impossible again. The Tadej and Jonas and Remco's. But I think to do a good job and go for like top 10 and stuff is maybe something that might be of interest. But I think for sure we're going to take it over the next few seasons and then make a decision on how we attack this road thing to get the most out of me. Because I also don't know if I'm a grand tour rider. Like, I could be a classics one-day guy. Like at the minute, my profile is like so bang on in the middle and could go either direction. So just got to take it race by race.
I think that's something that a lot of athletes and also, you know, people in business, you know, people that are driven to get somewhere and achieve a goal, it's hard to switch that off. So, you know, it's because I don't know, I felt like there's this notion of what makes people happy, and you think, okay, cool, I want to be, I don't know how you can maybe speak to this afterwards, like, okay, cool, I want to be world champ. Now you are world champ, and like now you think like when you're a kid, you think, oh, if I be world champ, like I'm gonna be happy, like I'm gonna be, this is gonna be everything I ever dreamed of, you know. But then you get there, and I could imagine then you're like, well, this is cool, but like now I want to win it again, you know, or I want to move on to the next thing, or, you know. So it's kind of like it doesn't, which is in a way it's sad, because I think as humans we always like we want to push for more, but at the same time it's like it's such a awesome achievement, and it's such a, you know, but that's, yeah, I guess what keeps people sort of like people like yourself driving to reach bigger, better things, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like a dangerous place to be, as you say. Like, once you achieve it and then kind of then sit and wonder, like, what's next? All the pressure also gets to you, that you're like, you now are world champ, World Cup overall winner. Like, you just expect it to win everything, like going forwards. Like that also is in the back of my head is like, that could be kind of, if I, set myself up for that, that people are just going to think that's what expected, but, kind of still human in the end of the day, and like performance is not guaranteed. And like for sure the experience is there and my drive to win is still there, but I think like that's why I think the timing of this road thing was just absolutely perfect, to be an absolute high Olympic medal, win the world champs, win the World Cup overall, like, and then now to shift focus and put mountain bike like kind of on a back foot in a way, like just to focus on something else for the first 5 months of the year and then shift back to mountain bike for the last half. But yeah, just to change it up a bit, I think, just to mentally and physically just prepare in a different way. Because I think, if I kind of had to say that what I did this year was absolutely everything right and I have to copy and paste that for the next 5 years would be super dangerous. I think that you have to get out the comfort zone to keep improving and to stay at the front. I think that everyone is so hungry for it that if you're not making these risky moves in a way and challenging yourself, you're just not going to stay at the front. So I think that's why it's like, tough in the way that obviously I had the best season of my career, and you think, why would I want to change? But I just think that, I want to do a good job, stay consistent, stay at the front, and achieve something bigger in 4 years' time. And like, might come with a bit of a risk of having a so-so season from being spread too thin. But hopefully we manage it and do a good job and use the knowledge we've built up over the last few years to not get it wrong. But it's going to be a massive challenge.
You obviously mentioned a few big highlights there. What was, I mean, you won 23 under 23 world champs and then you won elite worlds this year. Overall, almost Olympic gold as well. What was if you could pick one, or what was the most special moment for you?
I would say the World Championships in Inaugural. Like, for me, Olympics is super cool, and it's like more the whole country gets behind you, and like, I think maybe it's easier to watch or easier for them to follow. I'm not sure, but Olympics always has like a special hype to it, and if you perform there, like, it seems to go a lot further for some reason. But like, obviously, within the cycling community, World Championships goes a lot further than everyone knows about World Championships. But for me, the Olympics is only 38 to 40 riders on the start line. So it's always in the back of my head, like, if you perform there, it's cool, but it's still, there's like really good guys that could have or should have been there. So for sure it counts. I mean, it's the best of the best, fits the criteria and qualifies to go, but it's not everyone. Whereas Worlds, like 95% of the guys that could be there are there. And like, if you win there, there's no excuses. Like, it was a full-on World Cup style event, massive start. Obviously, it's also a bit more traditional in a way that everyone also has factory support. It's not federation support. So like, I just think the excuses are a lot less, and it's like a proper one to win. I think it's probably one of the hardest races to win, to be honest.
That's interesting that the Worlds is still put on a higher pedestal than I mean, obviously we don't, in downhill, you don't have the Olympics, so. But I guess it's the only thing is obviously it comes around every year, which the Olympics doesn't. But as you say, like, I didn't realize that there were so many less guys that were racing Olympics.
Another thing you also forgot is the achievement in 2019. It's a test to see how well you've been following me. It's another world title I got, Monson and Worlds in 2019. I wasn't there. You don't follow Team South Africa or what?
Yeah. What was it?
It was the first ever event at a World Championships.
Was it the e-bike? Yes, now I remember.
Never forget that. I was
like, what the hell? Like, what have I missed here? Flipping out. Yeah, that was. But you only did it once,
wild,
right?
Yeah.
The first ever one and done.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, the guy is now trained for it specifically and stuff. It's too hard to win now. I took the opportunity while it was there. No, I mean, it's wild now. I mean, I've watched it the last few years. I mean,
Yeah.
the guys are savage, yeah. Because it's like power to weight as well.
yeah.
So you see the guys at the front now, and they're like 50 kilos. I mean, it's...
Yes. No, that's hectic. I think people, like, e-bikes can have a bit of people sort of like roll their eyes at e-bikes, but if you do it properly, like e-bikes are proper, they give you they still flipping hard, and like people forget as well, it's a big bike. Like,
It's the highest average heart rate per hour that I ever had in a race.
really?
It's 182 average for that race. I mean, I was absolutely dying because I had no recovery on the downhill because the bike's so heavy. And obviously, all the downhills is where your time is, because on the ups and flats, like, obviously you have to have shape to keep the bike on the limiter, but like your real gains is
In the down.
on the down. So like, you rinse yourself just to keep that thing on the limiter on the uphills, then you go downhill, and then you're fighting for every second down.
Been out.
And then, I mean, the whole world championships for the mountain bike was written off after that event. I mean, I thought I'd be all right to do that and recover, but I mean, I was so broken. I mean, it was crazy. I took like 3-4 days to come around, and then I tried
Yeah, but
to...
I mean, you won the first ever e-bike world champs, so I mean, like, I think you deserve then a break, eh?
Yeah, no, for sure, yeah. And I had a rough year as well. It was kind of like my saving grace of the year.
Yeah, man. Dude, 182 heart rate average for, how long was it? Hour and a half?
No, it was like an hour, just over an hour. But they thought the battery wasn't going to make it, They got more than an hour.
Dude, honest question now, because for me, looking at when you guys race, I'm like, it doesn't look like fun. Like, when you are at 180 heart rate for that long, like, is it fun, the actual racing part?
Yeah, it's like a game of chess. And like, the thing is that we get so conditioned for that effort that when you're riding at like 178, that's like, the 80% or like 75, 80% of what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just riding along like at a comfortable, not comfortable, but like, it's sustainable. It's not like you are absolutely max,
So you feel...
You save your maximum effort for key moments, and you do it in little key parts that kind of make and break the race. But majority of the race, you're like in control the whole way around. And then like while you're in control, I mean, obviously you're still flying around the course, and you have to try build the race together. I mean, that's what I do anyways. You try build the race and position yourself where you are, and then you have to plan strategically, when you're going to get your fueling on, when you're doing your cooling, when you're going to try make or break the race, who's coming from the back of the race now forward, that could be a problem, who's pushing wind on the front, are you recovering on the downhill, are your lines good? Because I mean, you could be on a bad line the whole race and not even know it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where the team around us is actually important. So we have like 4 staff members on course that are giving us feedback on all the, so it's every 3-4 minutes or so, someone is saying something, someone's moving up, or your line choice on rock garden should shift to B, or whatever it is. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on while you're riding at the 80% kind of comfort zone until the race happens. But when the race happens, I mean, I guess kind of for me, like, it's also working towards when the race does happen, that you can follow the move and still be in control, because that's like the best feeling in the world. Like, for me personally, I think if you're riding along at like 80% and then the race happens and then you go completely cross-eyed when you follow, and then you're just dying, you can't breathe, you can't descend, you can't feel your arms, like, I mean, then it's horrible. And for sure, I've been there plenty times, and you just hoping and praying that it slows down so that you can have a chance to stay in. And Pidcock's done that a few times to most of us. When he comes through and does his Pac-Man thing, fighting from the back, and then, you think he's not going to turn up, and then he does, and then he hits you straight away when everyone is on the hook, and then you hang on as long as you can, and boof, off the back. I mean, then it sucks, Kind of think like, you need to go out and do some more. But yeah, for sure, when you're in control and you're in the driver's seat and you're the one putting the hammer down, and everyone is feeling that way, that they are suffering to follow. I think
like almost like teasing them. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. No, it's the dream, Like, I mean, the way I rode on like Monster Land for the final round, like, that one and Niger is like the most control I've ever had at a bike race. You know, like from the first minute, you know, I'm able to dictate and decide how the race is gonna unfold and make it hard when I want to and make it easy when when I feel like it. Yeah, it's like a completely different type of race, and it's something like I honestly would work another 4 years for to have that feeling again. Like it's just unreal to be cruising along and you're like going and you pushing, but you're not thinking like you're going max, and you look behind and it's just like no one has followed you. Like it's crazy. Yeah, it's something really work towards.
Crazy actually that is, with how many good guys there are, that it's crazy that you or someone else, you know, in that time period is able to get to that point where they, you know, you can be so much better on that day than the rest of the field when everyone is putting in so much, you know, and there's so many talented guys.
I mean, over my whole career, I can probably count on one hand like how many times I've had that beaten. So I mean, you have to work your ass off for it, and it doesn't happen often, but there is situations where, you know, you get the right bike set up, the right type of course that suits you, and right timing of training and altitude and prep and whatnot. I mean, there's a lot involved that just, if it lines up, it's just, you'll just be leaps and bounds ahead of the race.
I think you mentioned it, but we touched on it earlier, with the now being you are the guy now, and now feeling this pressure to, you know, now everyone's chasing you kind of thing, and now this pressure that you expected to win, you know, every race. I think I remember I heard an interview with Greg years ago, and when he was number one, and he was saying like that you always need to kind of reinvent yourself every year. Like even if you were the best guy, like you need to like take stock and reevaluate everything and then try new stuff, which is, as you said earlier, it's a risk, because you think that from the outside, I think if people are not involved, it's quite easy to think, oh, well, he won, so just do what you did again. Like just do the same training, like it worked. So, but obviously everyone is trying to get better. But at the same time, when you make those changes, it might not be the right change. Like you obviously hope that it is, but things can happen, you know, which is always a bit of a risk when you've got a winning formula, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's like shuffling the season around. It's like an easy way to distract yourself from that approach. Because I think, you know, if you run the same plan, like the risk comes in that you have specific targets that you know you need to reach or be on track, like to repeat the same plan again. And I think like for motivation and stuff, like it's not fresh, you know. You're trying to copy and paste the plan, and you know the drill and you know what you need to do. It's like, whereas if you reshuffle it a little bit and you put races maybe a bit earlier in the year and a bit later, like then you kind of go up and down at a different wavelength than what you would have done if you copied and pasted. But the work being done is still similar. It's just done in different times.
Yeah.
So like obviously that comes with the risk of like dialing in and doing the final cherry on top work, like still to deliver you in the shape you want to be. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think just mixing it, because I mean I haven't done any year the same over the last few years. So it's always finding like different ways of just shuffling it around. Like Andorra this year, for example, like I was in Andorra a lot more, but then I was also going up and down a lot more. Like the last few years, I was just staying up high, like the whole time, but not for as long.
Okay.
So it's just like, you know, changing locations, changing altitudes, like it's all fresh stimulus, different environments, like still getting similar work done, and like the training is almost the same in a way, but like it's just different style of executing it, and that keeps it fresh. And like for me, motivation and like hunger to achieve more is just always there. I think when you stick to the comfort zone, as we spoke earlier, like it's hard to make change.
And you mentioned, how much time do you spend in Andorra now?
5 to 6 months. I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah. Or like I'm based there 5 to 6 months, but obviously I'll go up and down and travel for the races and stuff in between.
And like obviously that's at altitude. how much impact does altitude training have on your form going into the season?
It's not really, you don't really use it for gaining form. It's more for climatizing to the races we're doing. Because a lot of the races we're doing now is at altitude.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's been the big shift, in my opinion, in the last few years, is that there's so many altitude races now that they're throwing in at us that if you're not used to altitude and delivering at altitude, that when you rock up from sea level, like I struggle anyway. It's quite hard.
Yeah.
So I think being based there, like also as a South African, you get 90 days within Andorra. That doesn't count for your Schengen days.
Yes.
So that was like the main reason as well. That like I wanted to stay in Europe and not do the backwards and forwards travel to try to stay healthy. But yeah, there's not many options as a South African to stay in Europe unless you have fancy visas or residencies or whatnot, which I don't have and still don't have. Busy working on that at the minute, but yeah. So that was the main reason, and like the conditions is good, and it's in the mountains, and like obviously the altitude does play a bit of a it does have quite an effect for how you train and prepare. 'Cause you can really kill yourself quite quickly. Like it's hard. I mean, when you do heavy weeks at altitude, you don't recover the same.
Yeah.
So that's always like a factor that you have to slow down the training almost. So you have to go in really good shape and then allow yourself to lose fitness basically for a few weeks while you adjust, and then you gain it back in the last part of the altitude block. So it's kind of like it's all lessons that I learned. I mean, everyone is different. I think that's the thing, is that like the way I do altitude is completely different to the way Charlie does.
Yeah.
Charlie altitude really doesn't affect him much. I mean, he can go in there on day one, take it a bit easy, and then he smashes it and he's fine. He recovers the same way. Whereas I get proper tired quickly. But yeah, it's been a good base for me, I'd say. And the cool thing is I can get on the trials motorbike there. I think Tony Bow has built trials for the whole of Andorra. I mean, it's I'm not sure if
it's quite a hot spot there.
I'm not sure if it's like completely illegal, but like you ride them everywhere, like on the roads, like in the bike parks when it's out of season, in the mountains, like
that's sick.
Whatever you see and you want to try jump or go up, like you just go for it and no one says anything. So yeah, it's really cool, and it's been like a key part of the training as well, because I think we spoke when you got here, and I was just saying that like I have spent quite a bit of time on the road bike the last 2 years, and for sure I do mountain bike key sessions, but not as much mountain biking as what probably most people think I do. I kind of do the trials and actual enduro motorbike here in South Africa, and obviously the trials in Andorra, in and around the training for the technical, obviously the technical training and just the strength and conditioning. I mean, that those big bikes, I mean, they absolutely hammer you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they have the speed as well. So when you're descending and climbing and stuff, it's for me almost double speed of what I would be on a XC bike.
Yeah. And crazy. Yeah, I think I know that's a big thing that people use, like the downhill guys. A lot of the downhill guys use enduro bikes and motocross bikes, but I didn't expect so many of the cross country guys to be using them.
Well, I'm kind of.
Or maybe you're the pioneer.
Yeah, one of the few. I think me and Andrei Frischnecht.
Yeah.
Then I got Simon, my teammate Simon Andreasen, on the trials bike for a bit.
Well, people should be watching what you do.
He smashed himself a few times. So like,
oh really?
It comes with risk. It's a process. You can't just jump on the motos and
what's that like with the teams and stuff? Like with riding moto and stuff. I mean, are they ever sort of concerned, from an injury point of view?
Yeah, like I mean, I'm at that point now where I've been doing it for so long that it's like kind of just a standard, a part of my training, and I think like given I've been doing it for the last 6-7 years, like every single week, it's and like touch wood, like I haven't been injured from it. Like it's hard for the teams to really have much to complain about it. And obviously like it has so much benefit for the mountain bike that it's just been a given that it's a part of my standard routines, and it's something I really enjoy. I think it's quite a targeted thing as well, because it's like as you've probably heard already, like I'm quite competitive or like everything I do. So, like even the moto and the trials and stuff, like the climbs I didn't make it up before, or like the stuff I tried to hop up the previous time and didn't make it. Like I go back and like try it again, and I'll keep doing it like kind of every day until eventually I make it or learn how to do it. So it's like, it's quite cool that it's like I have like a gym target, you know, you try to optimize yourself in the gym and make improvements there. I have goals on the road bike where I want to try to be faster and do stuff there. I have goals on the mountain bike, and then goals on the moto as well. So it's like my whole week, you know, split into kind of like 4 things I'm chasing. So it kind of, my energy and focus is kind of like constantly refreshed and targeted in different ways. It's not just one stimulus that I'm just running like day in and day out. So
I've heard that quite a few times, that it actually is beneficial to have another sort of an outside target or goal, and not just, you know, if you focus as an athlete or for anything in life, if you just got one thing, because if that thing doesn't work the way that you want or plan, then you kind of feel a bit lost, because you're like, well, that was the only thing that I was interested in or that I was focused on, and now that I didn't win the race, or I didn't, you know, perform the way I wanted to, and now you feel like a bit down, because you're like, flip, well, now I put all my effort into that, and, you know, it didn't turn out. You also mentioned, like, with the training side, like, and how, like, reinventing yourself and stuff. What do you think about someone like Nino? Like, how do you think, or what do you think's been sort of the way that he's been able to stay at the top? Like, and obviously now he's, you know, you've overtaken him, but, you know, he's been at the top level for so long, which not many guys have been able to do.
yeah, and he still won a World Cup this year, and everyone was keeping their eyes on him like the whole year round, Olympics, Worlds. Like, I mean, he's always mentioned. I think, like, I mean, he keeps, I think, his cards quite close to his chest, and I think he really reveals everything. But like, from inside the kind of World Cup community and what I've been able to see, like, I think he's just world class at actually resting and like having
resting.
And having like a balanced life. I think that he really is targeted for World Cups, because you don't see him doing many races outside of World Cups. So, you know, he's really targeted that he has those dates on his calendar, and like those are the events that he's gonna really go for it, and most of the time win or be damn close to it. But, you know, when the season is done, like, I mean, I could be wrong, but it looks like he takes maybe a month or 2 months off, you know, completely. Like, he's not shy of resting, going on holiday, doing like completely different stuff. And I think that that's given him the longevity to run his career for so long, that he's really has that balance, that he's able to, you know, live his life, enjoy, and then he buckles down and commits for those few months that he really needs to. And then when it's done, like, handbrake up, switch off party mode, and like he's out, you know, he's living his life again. I think that's really like the only way to sustain is to have that balance. I think if like you're just stuck in that rut of like doing the same thing day in, day out, and you go on off season, and then you're still kind of like itching to ride, you know, like on day 1, day 2 already, like, you know, there's like, it's not a bad thing. Like, I suppose when you're young, like I was like that, but, you know, like, I think to have that balance and actually enjoy doing something else is also really beneficial.
It's interesting because, I mean, in the downhill side, obviously you said Greg Minnaar was such an inspiration to you as well. And he just retired also this year at 42 or 43 now, which is just insane. And he also had that approach. It seemed that when the season was done, like, he would chill for, I'm not sure exactly how long, but definitely a month or 2. And I think I think when you're young, you don't understand that, because just like you're so motivated and so hungry, and you just like want to go. But I think, obviously that drains you, I think, mentally more than anything. And if you don't have that time off, then, you know, to like revitalize you and get your motivation and everything back, then it'll shorten your career a lot. At least it seems that way.
I think it's just balance, just to enjoy what you do, and like to keep that like enjoyment and motivation there. I think as soon as you kill that motivation and enjoyment, like it's really hard to continue in a good way. I think you kind of then will have to really stop, reset, and find yourself again to make improvements and keep moving forward. I think that's just the thing. It's like, you know, if you get stagnant and you don't just start ticking boxes, like, you know, just to get by, like you're still going to stay where you are, and you could be exceptional, but you'll just stay there, and you're not going to improve. And like, no one is staying still. Like in downhill as well, you see it. I mean, like the guys are just going faster and faster, like with everything, with every sport, and like everyone just wants to make it to the front. So like, yeah, and I think nowadays with science and research and knowledge, like, is so much stuff circulating that people are exposed to a lot more ideas and things to try, and getting suggested on things they did wrong. Like, it's quite easy with, I mean, like now you're wearing like smart watches and stuff, you know, like, you know, like there's so many metrics that you can have like in a day that actually tells you like what's going on and like how you can improve to keep moving forward. Like, yeah, it's just, I think it's evolved a lot. I mean, you know, when I was junior and youth and stuff, I mean, heart rate monitors and like power meters was like rarely used. I mean, everyone saw the things and said they crap, you know, the readings are so far out and not reliable, and I'll just use heart rate. And I remember having like intervals, and you have to average like 180 heart rate for 4 minutes. And like you do the first one and you are sprinting all out, because I mean 180 on the first one when you're fresh, like, I mean, you have to like pass out for that kind of average heart rate. And then like you do the second one and you're going like half speed for the same heart rate. And then you're like, okay, our session's done. You just do like, just get progressively slower and slower. Like, yeah, I mean, things have evolved a lot, but I mean, yeah, it is difficult nowadays. And I think you see it with the youngsters as well, like especially on the road side. Like there's so many youngsters now that are like 17, 18 that are signed by world tour teams for massive contracts because they have all the data and stuff, and they can see VO2 max and power data and whatever, and they're using that to forecast and predict where they're going to be in the future. Like it's evolving, and kind of like, I mean, I'm 28, turning 29 this year, but like kind of starting to feel old in a way. It's like,
you're almost 30.
Yeah, sneaking in fast.
So what are the most, I mean, you obviously use heart rate monitor, power meter, and what else do you use? Like, do you use anything to track sleep and HRV and sort of all that stuff as well?
Yeah, so I sleep with a watch on most nights, just to do that. And then actually core temperature is another sensor.
Core temperature?
Yeah, there's like a sensor you clip on the heart rate belt.
Okay.
And it kind of gives your body temperature. And you can use that as well as another metric for, like if you're doing hill repeats, you can see how heat adapted you are. Because like core temperature, when you're in really, really good shape, like core temperature for our type of sport, like obviously being endurance, like heat and core temp is one of the biggest limiting factors. Because if you hit 39 degrees core temperature, like basically your body shuts down and goes into like protection mode, because like you're overheating, your brain and like heart and everything needs to protect itself. So the blood doesn't go to the legs, doesn't go to the arms, like, and you surprisingly will hit 39 degrees quite easy in race conditions if you're not aware of the feeling, or if your heat adaptation is not great.
So what do you do then to sort of solve the problem?
Yeah,
How do you cool down?
It's like sustain blocks at like actually below 39 degrees. So you kind of expose yourself to sub-max heat, and you kind of keep it there. So your body learns to sweat more and cool down. Because basically the more you sweat, like the more your body is trying to cool down and stay within the 38 degree core temp. Because like 38 is kind of standard operating temperature for most people. So it's kind of like, just balancing to try to keep that. I mean, some guys will go really extreme. They wear like heat suits and beanies and all sorts, and they ride the turbo trainer like full gas and lose like 5 liters of sweat, you know, to heat adapt. Which, I mean, that also works, but like for me, it's too hard, like mentally to suffer like that. But yeah, I think it's something you'll probably see more and more of in future. I think people really are starting to look into heat adaptation now.
It's something I never even thought was a thing. Like, it's actually insane, like how scientific it is now. Like back in the day, it was just like, go train, come home, you know, and like, oh, today I felt tired, or today I didn't have a lot of gas, or today I felt good. But like, it's something like that. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you see, like with your heart rate, you know, like if you are chilling now, you know, like before, for example, like let's say you were gonna do a 5K run now, like after you take your heart rate now, you know, resting when your core temperature is at 36.5, call it resting core temp, and you go do your run, and then you sit here afterwards for 10 minutes, like your heart rate's gonna be like 100 or so. It's not gonna be at 60 or 70, whatever it was before. Like your body is running hot, and like it takes probably a good hour before the core temp kind of like starts to reset, unless you obviously shower or do like other ways to like cool yourself down. But if you just run and stop, like your body's hot, and like your heart rate is going to tell you that. But now you just get this little thing that plugs onto the heart rate strap and gives you all that data like live, just to confirm exactly what's going on.
And would you measure that only post ride, or you also measure before?
No, kind of like do it in training.
Or during?
Yeah, during training. Okay. Yeah, I don't use it in races because like if you're racing with all this data and stuff, like it's chaos. Like you can't trust that stuff. I mean, you can trust it, but like you can't use it. If you're racing with body temp in the back of your head and stuff, you're gonna hold back and race strange. Like really, you still need to race your bike in the end of the day, but it's just a tool to help you prepare better for those kind of things. I mean, we don't race so many races in crazy heat, but like I suppose Brazil is a really, really good example. It's high heat, high humidity. Like if you haven't done heat prep for those rounds specifically, like you're gonna take shots, like guaranteed.
And like, what about, you know, some other stuff? You know, things like ice baths, red light. I don't know. Do you use anything else? Sort of, which were, I don't know, biohacks or things like that, or not really?
No, I haven't been. I've tried all of those things, but not a fan. Like, I hate the cold. I mean, South African. I think I don't know. I mean, I can't do it. I mean, I suppose you mean you live in Germany and stuff. So I mean, you built different, but yeah. I mean, you put me in cold water. I mean, I freeze. I stiffen up and cramp and all sorts. So like, really. I mean, I live summer to summer. I mean, I stay here in South Africa until, as long as I can, like March, April, maybe May if I can, and then I'll go Andorra, and then it's summer already, or starting to go to summer. So it's kind of summer to summer. So I mean, I don't do so many days in the cold.
And I mean, obviously with the heat, like I noticed that now because I've been in Germany until a few days ago, and it was, when I left, it was -5, and I arrived here and it was 28 or 30 or whatever it was. And you know, the last couple of days went for a ride, and it was quite hard. Just I don't know, because I've been still doing some rides and stuff there and running and stuff, but just the temperature change I found it makes a massive difference. Like, and I grew up here, so like I should be used to the heat, but yeah, I guess when you've been over there for a while, it's it takes a toll.
I think like the interesting thing that kind of was brought up recently by some guys I was riding with is, if you stay summer to summer, there's like a risk of becoming like not efficient in the heat, because your body learns to kind of hide and hack to like get by in the heat. I don't know, like if that makes sense, but like when it was mentioned to me, it kind of made sense. Like if you are, you know, staying in Europe and you do that -5 degrees and stuff, like you lose all heat adaptation. So like when you get exposed to the heat, your body gets like a shock, and then it starts to heat adapt like straight away, because it has to, because like it's such a big difference. But like if you constantly stay in the heat, like your body doesn't really heat adapt. Like you just stay at like a plateau that's like average. You're not used to high heat, because you like the body doesn't think it needs to adapt, because it kind of like it's not really getting stimulated in the same way. Which like I kind of can agree, because at times I've like complained in races that I've just been too hot and I've overheated, which like considering my lifestyle of living summer to summer, like it makes no sense. And then like when it was brought up the other day, that's a guy said like it's the first time he's tried it, like he's gone full winter, embraced it, did like a few turbos, like froze his ass off, got used to being cold, and then he went to this like the sun again. He said he absolutely died for the first week, but then like all of a sudden his heat adaptation was like insanely good.
But it makes sense because they always say, I mean, your body is very smart and efficient. And so whether it's a diet that people like lower their calories, like after a while, your resting metabolic rate actually reduces because your body gets used to it. It's like, okay, well, there's less food coming in. So we've got to get more efficient with how much energy we're burning. And then you plateau and you stop losing weight, you know. So it's the same thing. And whether you're exposed to cold or heat, it also makes sense because after a while, your body adapts, which is just natural. So if you're changing all the time, well, not all the time, but on a, you know, regularly sort of throughout the year, then it would make sense that the body, you know, would be more efficient, but also better at it would get kind of lazy maybe if it wasn't making those changes.
Yeah, and it's like, it's actually the riders that are Southern Hemisphere based, you know, kind of South America, South Africa, Australia, like, you know, all the lower guys. Like, we are the ones that kind of have to really think about these things and figure out the way to overcome and be efficient. Because, I mean, obviously the majority that's in Europe or North America and whatnot, like, I mean, they don't have that problem because, I mean, they go through winter and they go through summer. Like, you know, they have the change of season. It's us that's dangerous. Like, you know, I've always had this theory as well, especially, like, I mean, I was chatting about Carl, the previous podcast, and Cape Epic and stuff. And, like, you see it with our South African boys, like, it's so quick and easy to get in shape here because we have such good weather. So majority of the guys, you know, November, December, I mean, they're training like mad guys. And, you know, February, March, they're in absolute peak shape. But then, like, what comes after that? Like, then they transition to a Europe season and they cooked because, like, you know, being Southern Hemisphere, it's so easy to get in shape, like, a lot faster than what everyone else is. Because, I mean, majority of Europe's all on turbo trainers and in the cold. So, I mean, they're not training at the same level. So it's, challenges, not easy being South African.
Where was the last year that you did the Epic actually?
I've only done one in 20.
You only did it once?
Yeah. With Matt.
And
with Matt BS.
And that was never something that, was it purely a fact of you felt like it was going to negatively affect you from the XC season, or was it not your cup of tea?
Like, it was also tough because obviously we had the COVID period as well, which kind of derailed it. I was supposed to do, I think that Cape Epic of 2020 was October. Was it 21?
Yeah.
2020 or 2021. I remember it was shifted. It was like a strange Epic. It was end of year. I mean, me and Simon were lined up. We were supposed to go for it, but then his appendix went just before, so it kind of derailed our chance there. And then it was already Olympic talks and focus, and we just said, like, look, we're not at the front of World Cup, so, like, it makes no sense to derail the plan and try to target something so outside of the scope of where we want to achieve. So we just said, like, we're not doing it for the next few years. We focus on World Cups. And I think, like, basically, if I didn't go the road, I probably would have done Cape Epic this year and then done World Cups afterwards, but chose to rather dive into a completely new world instead of trying the Epic again.
What do you, I mean, you have done it. Obviously, you haven't focused on it too much, but what do you think is more challenging, like training-wise and race-wise, doing a cross-country World Cup or racing the Epic?
Yeah, they're different. I think, like, you know, obviously being a team race at the Epic is always a challenge, you know, because it's the chances of both riders lining up and having a perfect 8 days, I reckon must be like 20%.
Yeah.
You know, it's really low. I think there's always going to be one guy that has a tough time or one guy that makes a costly mistake. Like, it's just, you know, the odds are, you know, it's double. So, like, it's two guys. And I think that's, like, the biggest challenge with the Cape Epic. And also, it's finding that balance because, you know, if you have a bad day, like, and the partner is destroying you, like, it's, it's just, it's tough. Like, it's a completely different type of racing. And it's also, it's really targeted, you know, it only comes once a year. So you have, like, the few months to prepare for it and you really go for it like that's the last race of the season. Whereas the World Cup, like, you have quite a few shots at it. So, I mean, for sure, you go for it at the races because you want to do a good job, but there is another World Cup, like, in a few weeks' time. So you kind of have to have a more long game plan with World Cups. with Cape Epic is like one shot, and like if you get it wrong, it's done. I mean, it can end on day one already. I mean, one of you guys blow up of the partnership and
Yeah.
you lose 20 minutes. I mean, it's like nowadays, I mean,
Race
that's
over.
it, it's done. Yeah. I mean, the gaps are so tight and the level is so high in that race that it's done. Yeah. I mean, that's just obviously my couch comments.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only done one, but yeah, no, it's really looks like it's evolved a lot.
It was because I'm actually interested to hear what sort of volume are you doing training wise? Okay, obviously it's now maybe changed for the road stuff, but like volume wise, what were you doing for XC racing versus what you do for the Epic? Because I know when I spoke to Carl, he was saying that he was doing like 35 to 40-hour weeks. I don't know if that's a lot. For me, it sounds insane, but obviously I'm coming from downhill.
Yeah,
But-
that's a lot.
But
A lot.
but I was like, what? Like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, and he showed me. He's got like a little little book like where he wrote down. He was very like, there was no technology back in the day.
Yeah,
So it was like he
yeah,
wrote
yeah.
down like every session, and he wrote there every day, and he would like race. So it would be like 200 Ks, 250 Ks, 200 Ks, 300 Ks, 220 Ks, and then in between it would be like race here. So like there would be races you'd do, and then you'd carry on riding afterwards, and it would be like back to back to back to back. And I was just looking at it like, that's insane.
Yeah. I think the tough part with Epic is it evolves as well so much. Like the cross country guys are really going for it now. And then like, Carl's a typical marathon guy, and like they use volume to prepare to get in shape.
Yeah.
And for sure they come around like in the last part of the race, like when it's hard and like
Carl
hot
Platt we're
and-
talking about. Just in
yeah,
case.
yeah. But like, yeah, when everyone's fatigued and stuff, like they come like steam trains at the end, I mean, I saw it at 19, it was crazy. Like in the beginning, when it's the XC guys really sprinting and
Yeah.
going for it, like they really suffer. But once we start slowing down, then they only get warmed up and then they rinse you like properly. But yeah, I think like it's different types of training. And I think the Cape Epic is lending itself nowadays more towards the XC guys. It's like a lot of single track, really punchy. The stages are getting shorter, more explosive. So I think that those marathon guys that are used to the big hours are not really benefiting the same way they used to anymore. I think, when the stages were 5 hours long or so, I mean, that was perfect for them. Because it's like really, you have to have that endurance and efficiency, and it's day in and day out, as you know. It's not just one day. So like if you're used to those kind of hours, you're able to back it up every single day of the Epic. Then the XC guys obviously are really intense training, so you're used to going for it and splitting the race all the time. So I think for me, that's why I enjoy watching it, is it's like seeing the two different types of styles of riders come together, and then like the end result at the end is not guaranteed, because like, the guys that don't do that kind of volume, they don't have the same legs at the end of the 8 days as what the guys that do the volume do. So it's like the long game within the week of racing. But yeah, for me, I mean, I'm on, well, it was this year, the cross country focus season was probably 15 to 18 hours
Oh, wow.
of
Okay.
training.
Okay, it's less than I thought, actually.
But the intensity is super high.
Yeah.
So like it would be, I don't know if you know TSS at all, but like it would be over 1,000 TSS most weeks, which like I could do a 35-hour week and come out with 1,000 TSS as well. So like it depends how you want to get that stimulus in, and like
Maybe you could explain like more, like I don't know the ins and outs of it. Maybe you could explain a little bit more for the average listener who might not know what it is.
Yeah, so like the training, it's like TSS is your training stress score. So it's like a comparison for like your threshold to effort for the hours, if that makes sense. So those three comes together and gives you the score.
Okay.
So if you ride 1 hour at 380 watts, call it, and that's your threshold power, you will have 100 score at the end of that hour.
Yeah.
But if you ride at 200 watts for that hour, your score will be in percentage of the 380.
Yes.
So then it will be like 40 TSS for
Yeah.
that hour. So like my training is more like the upper end of where
Yes.
you're targeting like crazy power, and you'll do like 200, 300 TSS, but in like 3 hours. Versus if I had to ride 200 watts, like for a 5-hour ride, I'd probably be like 160 TSS.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
So like, yeah, it's certain times, different prep, like, yeah, I mean, you still get in shape either way. I mean, obviously it's been proven. It's just a matter of what you do afterwards, I guess, which influences how we prepare. I mean, obviously being cross country specialists, we're going to always target the intensity approach, because obviously we have a cross country season afterwards, whereas for the marathon guys, I think it's probably a bit more pleasant way of getting in shape than smashing yourself day in and day out.
Yeah, I'll leave that to you guys. It's fine. And what about something like diet? Like, because I mean, to sustain the volume and the intensity, like you must have to eat an incredible amount of food. And also, I can imagine all sorts of other things, supplements and things like that as well. So, and have you placed, I mean, how much emphasis is placed on diet, and is it more, do you do anything like fasted rides or anything like that? Or, maybe you can walk us through that.
I think I'm one of the lucky ones. I would say that I don't really need to focus too much on diet. Like, I'm able to get to race weight and maintain race weight without putting too much emphasis and focus on it. Like, I'm always mindful of the decisions and making good choices, because obviously, like, that's just, I've been racing my whole life, so like it's kind of just built in to like always have that mindset of like knowing roughly what I need to eat and how to eat and when to eat. But I think the biggest thing that's changed is actually fueling on the bike. Like, I'm sure you might have heard it a bit, but the guys are really consuming crazy amounts of carbohydrates per hour.
I had a podcast with Jerome Swart a few weeks ago, and you walked me through that a little bit, what they do on the tour.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's insane, and I think that's the only way the guys are able to train the way they are nowadays. It's like, if you're fueling that well on the bike, your demands and recovery off the bike is like so much more efficient and refined that, when you start training the next day, you're not nearly as tired, and you're able to double your workload to get to the same end result. Or your fatigue, your perception of fatigue is half of what it actually is on the charts. You're able to get double that workload in than what you normally would have if you weren't fueling. And I mean, it's the same in the racing. I mean, with the race fueling we're using nowadays, you run so rich, you're able to really constantly repeat those high intensity efforts without dropping off. So like, I'd say as far as diet and nutrition goes, I think that's the biggest thing. And like, it's constantly evolving and being studied at the minute. Because I mean, the guys are trying to push crazy amounts of carbs per hour. It's like,
But can you actually utilize all of them? Like, because if you're doing, I know before it was like 60 grams, and now it's gone up to like 110, 120 grams in like the tour, for example. I don't know how much you're doing, but I mean, can you actually use all of those carbs?
Yeah, so it takes the gut training to obviously be able to use it. Because I mean, if you aren't used to fueling on the bike and then you put that amount of carbohydrate in, I mean, your stomach's going to knot and block and like game over, or you're just not going to absorb it. And like with the carbohydrate, you need to put liquid as well. Like, a lot of people don't understand that. Like, in order for carbohydrate to be useful, you need to have hydration with it. Because if you like drink carbs and eat carbs, you don't actually have water to balance the carbohydrates in your body. And then you basically dehydrate from the inside out if you don't have enough water.
From the carbs?
Yeah, I mean, like the water and the carbs, I mean, they're like, they work together.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that water element, I mean, your body, so if you put the carbs in without the water, the moisture from your body goes to the carbs to get it through. So then, like, you just, like I said, dehydrating from the inside out. I mean, I've been there, done that. Like, it's horrible. So it's like, it's all a learning process, and like everyone is unique. Like, some guys can go super high, like 160 per hour, and others would be 50 or 60. Like, it's really, and it also depends on how much you need. Like, it's obviously your body has a storage of glycogen and carbohydrates naturally, and like how much of that you use, I suppose, depends also how you need to fuel. But yeah, it's crazy for me at the minute. It's also something that's relatively new. I would say the last 2 to 3 years, it's really been a topic that's discussed a lot and is being adapted and changing a lot. It's not a given recipe that this is how you feel to perform in races and training. It's kind of, yeah, adapting. There's like now talks of like really super high carb days, and there's like medium carb days, low carb days. It's like, yeah, kind of layering it in now to optimize. Again, like I say, it's crazy. I think there's so many knowledgeable people now in the sport industry across all sports that it's not a given recipe that this is how it's done and that's it.
So crazy. Okay. That's and what about something like a faster training ride? Do you ever do stuff like that or no?
No, never. I used to do it in the past, but
Yeah.
like I used to absolutely hate it. I never really felt a benefit from it. Like for me, doing long endurance rides, like, you know, being depleted and tired at the end, like that was enough of a stimulus for me of being like fasted or close to, you know, when you're running empty.
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy doing the fasted rides, and then like the recovery afterwards was also really bad because obviously put your body in that state of low carb and energy's low, and like I still, you know, live my life after training, and I go out, I've got things to do, and you know that's like the other factor that's not counted in for most of the time when you do these crazy hard rides and diets and stuff. It's like you still got to live life as well around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, never been a fan, and I don't know. I don't think I really had the need for it.
It's interesting now, it's just because there's so many things now. I think also with social media and stuff, like there's just so much like you've got like the vegan diet and high carb, low carb, ketogenic, carnivore, fasting. Like there's just, and I think it's for the average person that is watching everything, I think it's very hard to know what's the best way because you've got so many different influences and people telling you this is the best and that's the best and this athlete is keto now and they're performing better, you know, like it's just I think it's quite tough for people.
I mean, my perspective is there is no best way. Like I think that all those diets have developed and become a thing because everyone is different, and like everyone needs certain things for their body to perform better. And then like because it works for that one person and then goes like wild and like everyone says this is the next best thing, but like I think that you need to take it with a pinch of salt and kind of do what's best for you, and like if it's working, like don't bother like looking for change, you know, unless there's like something you always want to tick off. Like I mean, I don't know. Like I mean, for me to go and like, you know, change and say like, I don't know, I'm going full keto diet or something like that. I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, I'm happy with the diet now and weight and performance and stuff. So like, why would I want to go and try something crazy like that?
Yeah, interesting. Let's see what's going to happen in the next 10 years. But it's already, I mean, half the diets that are out there now, I haven't even, like 10 years ago, I hadn't heard of. Like, and so it's switching gears a little bit, like to the racing side or the, I don't know, winning side, I guess. Like, you won a lot this year. Do cross country riders party? Are there like big after parties, or is it kind of just very professional and everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite a quiet guy to myself, I would say. Like, I mean, I've been to a few of the after parties, but really, like, you know, I mean, when I won Worlds in 2018 under 23, you know, I mean, I went back to the Airbnb with the team, and like, you know, we had a gin and tonic each, and like cracked on, went to bed, and like there was Marathon Worlds the next weekend. I was very low key, you know, which I like kind of regret that I didn't really like celebrate that more, like soak it in. I mean, this year after the Worlds, I went to the after party, and like that was quite a big party. But I think like being such a big goal, like it was something that I really wanted to celebrate. But like for me, the most part of it, like I'm really content and happy to celebrate with my small group of supporters and family, really. I'm quite a tight-knit, close friends kind of guy, and not big into partying. I think it's just, been racing like the whole life. I think I never really made that transition, or I had friends that was into it like growing up. So it's like something that's kind of strange to me in a way, like to go out and mingle and get, you know, completely hammered and listen to loud music. Like, I don't know. It's quite a quiet guy.
And I mean, on a not the same topic, but you see I'm wearing OnlyFans cap. Like there's been, obviously in the last couple of years, they've moved into sport quite a lot, and they've I think they have like 300 athletes now across the world. Some people love it, some people hate it, various opinions. Obviously the whole goal for them is to kind of change people's perception of them or their image. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I really haven't looked into, to be honest. Like, I know of it. Like, I mean, as you say, kind of when they first started up, like, kind of obviously got the vibe of what people turned it into. I think that was the problem.
Yeah.
But it's evolved a lot. And, like, I see a lot of the professional sportsmen now, like, obviously using it and all that. But, I mean, to be honest, I haven't really dived into it too much. But it's something I'd like to learn a bit more about. I mean, maybe from your side, I mean, what do you actually do with the OnlyFans? Obviously you have your account and people subscribe to it and stuff, but like, do you provide like tips and tricks and like?
So I do a lot of like behind the scenes stuff and like raw content. So obviously you have Instagram and whatever, and you'll do a reel or you'll do photos or whatever, but there's a lot of stuff which doesn't make it on there because there's just, you can't just keep posting all day long.
You're on a spam.
Exactly. So it's a lot of stuff, and sort of personal stuff between races, between events, like maybe training tips or bike hacks or anything. I mean, there's some of the same stuff on as well. That's on my Instagram, but it's a lot of just extra, I guess.
It's like an inside scoop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of what the whole platform was originally designed for. And obviously it just got taken off in a bit of a different direction from the creators. I just found it interesting.
And is it by request, like the content, or is it completely up to you?
So it's up to me. But then you can, so like my account is free. So people subscribe to me, but it's up to me if I want to make it a monthly subscription fee, or if you want to do something like a post that's particularly valuable, you could then put a price on that post if you wanted to. But the whole goal for me is to try to get more people on the platform, or the right people. So, I think it's obviously with Instagram and stuff, when you have you've got a lot of followers and a lot of people messaging you and stuff, it's pretty hard to get back to, respond to everyone. And so that's, with OnlyFans, it's kind of a platform where it's a more personal sort of relationship where that's more invested, the people, and so you give them a little bit more time, and so
And I can imagine your subscriber base would be then a little bit smaller. Like your community is not going to be hundreds of thousands. I mean, obviously it can be, I guess. I mean, if you provide good content. But but so it's the general, it would be a little bit more of a tight knit kind of community of people that want to.
So I mean, they've got kind of something similar now on Instagram with the subscription thing. I don't know.
I saw it, but I haven't
looked into too much, but it's kind of like the true, I guess, supposed to be like the true fans of people that are like really interested in you and not just click follow because they saw a funny reel or something. And on this similar topic with the social media stuff, like what's your take, or like how has that affected you? Because I feel like when I started, there wasn't, I mean, there was Facebook, but there wasn't Instagram and everything. That all came afterwards. And even in the beginning, it wasn't really like a big thing. But now as an athlete, you kind of have to be doing it, or at least in my experience, like a lot of the teams, of the sponsors, like that's a requirement, that you have to be creating this many pieces of content or doing interviews or doing this or doing that. And how do you find that is like obviously you've got so many demands on you with your training load, with travel and everything, and now you've got this other side.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I think is quite tough, to be honest, to balance. And like, it takes quite a lot of energy for me. I think there's some guys that can do it quite easily and naturally, and they're good with the captions and getting the content. And like, I think it's more of a filter. I think, like a personal filter, like, you need to be able to just push play and like, you don't care really what it looks like, what it says. Like, you just push content out. Like, I think those guys are the ones that are really thriving and have a lot of followers and success. But like, kind of, I'm quite quiet and reserved. So like, for me, I think too much about like, honestly, like, you put it out and you're like, oh, does it give the right image? Does it, is the caption like actually like accurate for what I like, want to dictate or represent? And like, I'm also conscious, like when you put stories up, like it's obviously, I mean, a lot of the followers are young. So, you also want to give the correct advice and like feedback across to them. So it's, I don't know. For me, it takes a lot of energy. Like I probably, think too much and make it difficult for myself. But like I want to do a good job with that as well. And I think I'm probably at the point where I might have to handbrake and look for outside some support to try to take that stress off of me. But I think it's just a big marketing tool. I mean, all the teams and sponsors really use social media as like a reference for like how valuable you are off the bike. Because I mean, when you're not racing, I mean, essentially that's kind of where they're pulling the value from in a way. Because, when you are just training for months on end to get ready for World Cups, for example, like, those months that you're not racing, like they need to try get a value or try pull something to justify what's going on. So it's like, excuse me. It's kind of like to try justify that you have a bit of pressure and obligation to do a good job on the social. So, but it's a strange concept still to me, because I think I'm like kind of, I mean, how old are you? I feel like we similar.
I'm a little bit older than you. I'm 30. I just turned 34 this year.
Okay. I think we kind of like somehow still in the same gen. And I also kind of remember like Facebook was like thing, and it was very like, you just would put like some stupid updates and push play, and like there was no real pressure on it, like no one really cared how many followers and likes and whatever stuff. Whereas like nowadays it's like, I feel like a lot of guys are feeling quite pressured like to deliver. You need to have so many followers, you need to have likes, you need to have so many stories, like, and if you build yourself a big fan base and like they're all commenting and messaging and stuff, like, I mean, obviously, like I appreciate it and like you see all the support and stuff and it's really motivating, but like it's impossible to get back to everyone because I mean, you've got 10,000, 15,000 people commenting or stuff on like a story or a post, like or replying to it. And I mean, it's just quite hard to like, I mean, I think not a lot of people probably see the socials like from our perspective, and like it's not easy, I mean, they always want like fresh content and like Insta bangers and like cool captions and updates on like everything, but like realistically it's just not possible for everyone. I think some guys can just do it, like I said, like really easy, but others not so much. You one of the guys that just bangs content out all the time, and
but not it's not easy, like I can tell you that, like, and it's a lot of, honestly, someday it's a love-hate relationship. Like sometimes, I mean, I enjoy making content, but it is, as you said, like it brings a lot of pressure as well, especially because like for me, as I've moved away from like the racing is not the main focus anymore. Like now the content is the main focus, which is, it's a great opportunity on the one side because like I can still keep, my focus is still on riding bikes and that's still my life and what I love to do. But at the same time, it brings, when you've got brands and things that are behind you and expecting whether you do a video on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever, and they're expecting a certain amount of views and a certain amount of reach, and then it's not performing, and then you maybe you worked on that for days or weeks, like, and then it's quite hard then to deal with, because you're like, flip, I invested so much time, and then you feel like you're representing yourself through the content, and now when that's not doing well, then you feel, it can sometimes feel negatively about yourself, because now you're like, well, I feel like I'm not worth as much now because like people aren't liking this piece of content, and it's not true, obviously, because it's the way the algorithms work and stuff. Sometimes stuff just doesn't do well, and it's not because it's not good. It's just, unfortunately. That's how it works. But it is difficult, and I think that's why I asked you, because like I have found that quite difficult to balance, especially when I was racing as well, because like I feel like it's maybe a little easier if you only focused on that or only focused on racing and not focusing on. But if you're trying to do both, then it's like sometimes you just want to go, just want to go ride your bike and not think about doing a video or doing a photo or photos or.
That's a deep rabbit hole, I think, because I think it's like, I mean, I'm not a social media expert by any means, but like it looks like it changes like so much, like if your cover photo is wrong or like your video is like 5 seconds too long or like something silly like that, like the trend, if the trend goes from a 5-second video to a 10 and or like down to a 2-second or something silly, and you don't have that specifically, like you're gone, like the algorithm kicks it out or people don't see it or they don't like it, and like, or not necessarily don't like it, but like doesn't engage or fit into the same category of whatever most people are seeing, and then it's an outlier, and then it disappears, and it's like, I mean, you have to be full time to actually follow and predict and navigate that whole thing. So that's why I think I might just leave it to a professional like going forward. Like it'll still be me probably on the replies and stuff. Like the actual content just needs to be like.
I think a lot of top athletes are having help, because it is when you can't mentally split your focus so much, because it honestly, if you want to do it well, like you have to put in a lot of time. But I mean, if you're putting in big days on the bike or whatever sport you're doing, like it's just impossible. Like you can't, one thing is going to suffer. And I think more mentally I felt like it's easy to get burnt out doing that, because it's just like you can't be putting in a 5-hour training ride and then you come home and you just want to unwind, but now you're like, oh shit, I have to film a video now, like, or multiple videos.
No, it's taxing, for sure.
But I think it's, in the one side, it's opened up opportunities for people, which is good. People that maybe wouldn't have been able to make a career out of the sport because they wouldn't have been talented enough necessarily to win at the top level or something. So I think that's good. But at the same time, it also gets a bit of a bad rap, I feel, or not a bad rap, but like I think people underestimate how much goes into it. I mean, even if we're doing like now, we're doing a podcast or whatever, like all these videos, people just go on YouTube and they click the video like, oh, cool, that's, but every video that's out there, whether it's a 10-second reel or it's a 2-hour podcast, it's like, the amount of work that goes in from the planning to the caption to the thumbnail to the the whole thing is, I think, underestimated a lot by people.
No, agreed. I mean, like just like a recent example would be like that giant launch video for the off-road team. I mean, it was 8 hours of filming for me, sprinting up, down, left, right, follow shots, drones, the works, and the reel that went out was 45 seconds long. And like people, like it goes by and it's like flash, flash, flash. See me at the end. Oh yeah, cool. Alan's on giant now, but they don't realize like it took like a whole day of filming. Like sprinting up and down and like broken afterwards. And like just a little clip that comes up. Just normal. Oh yeah, cool. Like it. Off you go. Next one. It's like it's cool. The world is changing.
Flip.
It's TikTok now and all sorts. So.
We should get dancing now.
Yeah.
And what, I mean, obviously that, for me, that's something that I found quite difficult as an athlete. What do you find, because I think as a pro athlete, everyone's like, oh, sweet, you live the dream, just travel the world, like, but I've seen the other side of it as well. It's not always as easy as it looks on Instagram. What's been the toughest part for you being, living this lifestyle and being, full-time athlete?
I think the hardest thing is like it is like a lifestyle, and it does take quite a bit of sacrifice and discipline to stick to the plan and constantly be mindful of performance and chasing goals. And I think like for me the hardest part is when you do everything right and like you're still not getting the performance or achieving the goals that you've set out to achieve. I think that's kind of like really game changer and quite a hard moment, to keep pushing and fighting the same way, stay disciplined, keep sacrificing, like, you know, 'cause I mean, our off seasons are so short, you know, it's like, I mean, this past off season was really short, obviously, with my transition to the road, but typically it'll be 4 weeks,
Yeah.
you know, 1 month. So you have
Not a lot
1
of
month to
time.
do what you want, you know, if it's fishing, motor, hiking, like that's your time. Like in and around that, you have to be mindful. Like, you know, if I just say, screw it, I'm going to go now and go hike Lion's Head, like I can't because I'm going to be broken for 2 days afterwards and I need to train the next 2 days, like
Yeah.
to achieve my goals that I'm going out for. So it's like, you know, every day is accounted for and there's a plan, and like you need to, you know, I wake up, I have to execute that plan, and then obviously I balance what I need to do with my day and life, like around it in little nuggets, but it's always like in the back of your head, like
It's kind of,
just need to, yeah, balance it and not bite off too much.
I felt like you, as harsh as it sounds, I felt like being an athlete, you kind of need to be a bit selfish. Like,
No, it is,
because
100%.
you know, you have to focus. You are the priority. Like your performance is the main goal. You know, that's what's bringing home the bacon.
Yeah, and it's tough because, like, you know, as soon as you slacken off and you know, like really start accommodating and, oh, yeah, like no problem, you can just do this, and oh, yeah, I can just go do that. And then, like, you know, if you look at the plan, you know, you look at like 2 weeks worth of training and you see the few things you slid in here and there just to fit in and adjust, and oh, yeah, I'll go for a braai here, and you have a late night here, and then you like the consequences, like, you know, it's a ripple effect. It comes down and you see it like at the end of the period that maybe you've lost, you know, like 3-4 days worth of training that you could have gotten in. And like at the level that we're trying to target and go for nowadays, like that 3-4 days of training makes a big difference on how you're going to turn up to that start line.
And I mean, support wise, like, you know, I see your wife there in the background. I mean, you guys have been together for a long time now, and obviously you're with your parents and stuff. How, you know, how was that, you know, how did that conversation go? You told your parents, like, I want to be a, you know, pro cross country rider, or was it something that just sort of naturally evolved?
Yeah, I think, yeah, they had belief, like from really young already, that was, when I said I was going to do that, I mean, they were cool with it. And they saw Greg and Barry, and like they had, you know, really successful careers already at their younger age back then, and I don't think there was any concern or doubt. I think also I'm probably one of the last few like that actually came from cycling when there was money in the sport at a younger age. Because I mean, nowadays, like if you are coming out of school and you want to get I mean, I had contracts, I was getting paid, you know, when I was still in school. But I mean, like now,
was that teams
from 16, yeah, like
what team
from
was it?
BMC South Africa.
Crazy? Okay.
So like, I mean, back then there were so many other teams as well, and they were paying like really big salaries. Whereas nowadays, there's not many teams that are left standing, and like salary is a salary. Like if you need more, then like sorry, you need to get a job. Like it's not possible. You can't negotiate. Whereas, you know, like when I was, I don't know, 18, 19, 20, like in that era, like there was still quite a few really strong teams that you could actually shop around a bit and play them off and add a personal sponsor, and like, you know, it was playable. But I mean, nowadays it's really, really tough, eh? So.
And I mean, through this journey, I mean, I'm sure that there must have been, you know, people see all the good stuff. They see all the winning, the champagne showers and stuff, but like, I'm sure there must have been some tough times as well, like also mentally, like, and was there ever a moment that you sort of really thought you're not sure if you want to keep going down this path?
Yeah, well, I've never thought of throwing the towel in, but like probably the toughest moment in my career was actually after I won my first World Cup.
Really?
Yeah, it was in Canada, Munson, and it was 2017.
So under 23.
Yeah. It was either 2017 or 2018, but like that team Spur that I was with, the team said like in the early parts of the season, like that was the last season, and like, you know, it wasn't going to continue. So like in the back of my mind that whole time, I thought, like I really need to make a plan here to get a factory ride. Otherwise, this is going to be not sustainable anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to navigate to continue racing. And, I won that World Cup in Canada. And I thought, all right, that's it, done. Like, I had obviously a few months of pressure on myself thinking like I need to win or give a result to get a team to like have an option going forward. And I won, and it didn't make a difference. Like I shopped around, and the guys were, the first comments were saying, like, oh yeah, I was outside of Europe, so it doesn't count. You need to win a one in Europe for it to count.
But all the big dogs are there.
Yeah, I know. It was super strange, but like that was really my low point. And I was probably bleak afterwards, and I thought like, all right, I'm gonna have to go get a like job, when I'm back here, and then race on the side. And then, yeah, I was just fortunate enough that I won World Championships like a few weeks later, and then like that obviously got everyone's attention. And then I had a few doors open, and off I went again. But yeah, it was quite a low point, thinking like it's actually insane how brutal sport is. That like even if you win, like it's how you win and how often you win, and like there's always something. It's not just straightforward.
And so obviously I'm sure there's going to be a lot of youngsters, that are looking up to you now and wanting to be you in your shoes. Like, what if you could, give people some advice as to, what has helped you and what you'd recommend if they wanted to get to where you are? What would you would say this is like the most important thing?
That's quite like, I would say probably patience would be like the key point. I think that like it's really tough to say it, because I know like not everyone has the same support and like luxury that I've had in my career with support and sponsors and contracts and stuff. But I think like if you can figure out a way to sustain it, like performance is not an overnight thing. Like it's really a year-on-year progression thing. And I think if you get overnight success, like you need to be cautious of making it sustainable. And I think for me, it's just been keeping the head up and just constantly chipping away, and like going top 30, top 20, top 10, top 5, and then like now it's only top 3 is like the goal. So it's like, it's not something that is just given. There's no recipe to just get straight to the front. It's like as long as you are making improvements and moving forward, like you're doing an excellent job, and like that's enough. I think that's like adopting that mindset and accepting that is enough. Like in my opinion, I think if your threshold is 340 and it moves to 345, like you're moving forward. So like don't go and try to reinvent the wheel now. Like you are moving forward. Like as long as it's going like that, it's gonna come at some point.
And if you hadn't become professional cyclist or mountain biker, what do you think you would have been doing?
I'd like to think like an enduro rider on the motorbikes.
Okay.
I did move to Africa now recently, and I got inspired. Let's maybe change careers at some point.
That would be a first. Pro cross country, road rider, gone over to pro enduro.
Giving Wade Young a run. No, I really enjoy the enduro, but yeah, still those enduro boys, they're different league.
Yeah, that is another level. Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool to see, like firsthand, because I don't get exposed to too many other sports, but to see a different discipline where someone commits basically the same amount of focus and time and energy as what I do to the bicycle, to obviously the motorbike, and seeing how efficient and how good and how like natural they are on the bike from their training. Like it's really, really cool to see, like, if you really commit to something and go for it, like what it actually looks like on a different sport.
And when last were you on a downhill bike?
Too long ago, I think. Probably like a big hit e-bike would be the closest, like a 160 mil e-bike.
E-bike? No, come on.
The last downhill bike I got off was like 26-inch. So
you haven't ridden a downhill bike since you had one, like since your Moorwood.
No,
was it a Moorwood?
But you uplift those things. You can't ride them up the hill.
It's funny when you're on the back of the bucky or something, and then people are screaming or shouting at you like, "Oh, you guys are lazy! Whatever, pedal that thing up the hill." Like, yo, you get on this bike and try to pedal it up this hill.
No chance. Yeah. No, it'd be interesting because I've been watching and following obviously downhill. I mean, it's at every World Cup, and I see all the guys preparing and see the course, see the conditions, and it's wild. And I do wonder and like question like how much has those bikes evolved and like
Yeah.
that, I mean, like for example, like cross country, like the tires and rims and inserts and suspension, like it's made in the last 2 years. I think we're going maybe 15, 20 seconds a lap quicker just on equipment.
Crazy.
So I mean, like if Daniel is following that same path, which I know it is,
Yeah.
like it must be insane, like how good it is now. I mean, yeah, my last memories of the downhill bike was a bit of a pogo and a buckled aluminium rim, but like it's been a while. So.
It would be interesting to
Yeah.
get you on a like, because especially now, like being the world champ, like getting onto a downhill bike, because it's something that I haven't seen before personally. I mean, I think Nino might have gotten a downhill bike at some point, but yeah, it's not something you see every day for sure. And I think, I mean, you obviously had the background, and actually a lot of the quite a lot. Carl Platt also raced downhill as a youngster, which I didn't know either.
Yeah.
It seems like quite a common thing that if you want to be a good XC racer or marathon XC, then you need to race downhill first.
Yeah. No, exactly. Got to start them young.
And have you given? I know you're sort of in the peak of your career now, but like, have you given any thought as to what you want to do after you're done with mountain bike racing?
Yeah, like it's a few side hustles I'm busy working on at the minute, but nothing too major at the minute. Like it's kind of like back to that social media thing. It's like the same mindset. It's like if you start planning like retirement and what you're gonna do after and stuff, like it takes so much energy.
Yeah.
And it takes the focus away from what you currently doing. That's really tough. So there's like a few months of a year, where you have time to kind of start planning and putting things together. But yeah, it's kind of has crossed my mind a few times, but I think still have a good 5-6 years left in me before I need to like maybe consider retiring. I mean, you never know. Maybe I can do like a Greg Van Arm loop and go until 40 plus. But yeah, I doubt it. But yeah, for sure, we'll need to have a look see.
And there's a question that I ask every guest, and that is, what does success mean to you?
Achieving what you've set out, I guess. I mean, it's probably, I don't know, it's quite something I haven't really thought of, to be honest. It's actually
Because it's always different. I mean, some people say that they think money is success, or some people say, they're reaching their goals, or personal with their family, or whatever. There's so many different ways to look at it. Like,
I mean, like for me, I think success is just really like whatever the goals are, on the bike, off the bike, like going out and actually achieving that and like living the way you want to. Like for me is success. Like not compromising in a way. Like if you settle for, I don't know, staying 6 months, here in South Africa, 6 months in Europe, like, just sticking to the plan and, achieving top 10s at World Cups. Like that's like, I don't set my goals like sky high, because that's like goals, but like success is like sub goals for me. Like, like basics that I just need to achieve, like to live a balanced life, like success. I mean, you don't want to be like a guy that just bikes and like
that's a very mature way to look at it. I think not a lot of, well, I haven't heard that so far. So as long as I've been doing this podcast, I haven't heard that outlook. And for you, what do you think has been the biggest strength or factor that's gotten you to this point? If you could, pinpoint one thing.
I would say probably resilience. I think like the ability to get in the box probably every day. I think that's like, I don't think there's many that's able to consistently like put themselves in the herd locker like day in, day out, and like just make that like a lifestyle in a way, that you're just used to training camp and like rest, adapt, race, like just piecing it together and like still balancing the life like outside of it. I think it's quite tough. A lot of guys are able to go for it, but it's not balanced.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm able to kind of take a lot on my shoulders and get what I need to done. I think that's probably a key to my success. Probably
Dude.
my coach would say elsewise, but yeah.
Dude, thanks so much.
Yeah.
It was,
No,
yeah, it
cheers.
was awesome to catch up and to find out how to put yourself in the hood locker.
Yeah, good to have you out the snow, enjoying some sun.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And to see more episodes, click the link right up here.
That was iconic.